Ready? Welcome everyone. Welcome to this public meeting of the Princeton Board of Education. Our mission is to prepare all of our students to live lives of joy and purpose as knowledgeable, creative, and compassionate citizens of a global society. The board is an elected, unpaid group of 10 citizens who set policy and make decisions on educational, financial, and personnel matters for the Princeton Public Schools on behalf of all residents. We are always pleased when members of the community attend our meetings. The board and the school district operate under applicable New Jersey laws and under regulations of the New Jersey State Board of Education. Each meeting includes an opportunity for those attending to comment on items on the published agenda or other matters of interest to them. The board reserves the right to limit the time allotted to public participation. Law limits discussion of individual personnel and confidential matters. We desire that our meetings provide useful opportunities for the communication between the board and the community. Thank you for attending. As required under the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice was given for calling this meeting. It was authorized by the Board of Education and forwarded to the municipal clerk, Princeton Packet, and the Times on January 10th, 2019, and distributed to the schools and others on the standard distribution list. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. Board Policy 2230, Recording Devices, requires that we inform those attending this meeting that the proceedings are being recorded on video. This meeting is being video recorded and may also be live streamed. The representative of the sending district is authorized to vote on such matters as affect sending district students or affect the governance of the Princeton Public Schools as more specifically designated in the New Jersey statute. In the event that the statute is amended, the law shall take precedence over this bylaw. Sending district votes pertaining to personnel actions refer to high school, central administrative, and district-wide staff only. Votes otherwise are considered abstentions. I would now ask that our business administrator call the roll.
Beth Barron.
Here.
Greg Stankiewicz. Here. Betsy Baglio.
Here.
Debbie Braunfeld.
Here.
Daniel Dart.
Here.
Jessica Deutsch.
Here.
Bill Hare.
Here.
Brian McDonald.
Here.
Michelle Tuck Ponder. Evelyn Spahn.
Here.
Sam Harshbarger. Here.
Thank you. Our first item of the evening is the adoption of the minutes for the May 7th, 2019 meeting. Could I have a motion for that? Brian? Second, Jess? Could I have a show of hands for approval? Thank you. Motion passed unanimous. The second item is harassment, intimidation, and bullying. It's a consent item, so we'll address that with our consent. And the next item is the president's comments, and I have a couple slides I'd like to show. So I thought it would be helpful this evening.
You want to sit here?
Can I just talk to the
Here, just sit here.
microphone? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tom. I thought it would be helpful this evening to just show a few slides to kind of give some context to where we are in the year. We had a tough meeting last week where we passed our budget, and I thought it would be helpful for us all to kind of take stock of where we are and where we're going. So I'm going to figure out how to do this. There we go. I'd like to start with the mission of the public schools and remind us of why we're here. Our mission is to prepare all of our students to lead lives of joy and purpose as knowledgeable, creative, and compassionate citizens of a global society. So last week, we talked about our budget. We passed a budget that balanced, and I just wanted to bring back those pie charts so people could see that our revenues are primarily from the local tax levy, about 83%. Our expenses come from a number of different things, but often have to do with some of our staffing. We've got charter school tuition. This is all available on our website under the board section. We have the full presentation from last week, as well as some Q&A. What happened this year is we found ourselves with a structural deficit. Now, this has been happening for some time, and this year was the year that it really came to hurt us, and we had to make reductions. And I just wanted to show these numbers again. This is again pulled from the presentation last week to show the main drivers. Our revenues are basically the tax levy, which is the largest part of our budget. We get some state aid, about 5%, and we have tuition from Cranberry. And if you look at the annual average growth, I'm going to look at, I think I have a pointer. I don't know how to do it. How do we do that?
Push the green button.
The green button. So this is the column that really is important that people understand. So our levy has been growing since 2015 at we've been raising taxes by about 3.77%. So that's our revenue. Our state aid has been pretty much flat, and the tuition that we receive from Cranberry based on the children attending has actually gone down. And next year we propose to go up a little bit here. Then you look down here and you see what our expenses are. Now, our expenses for salaries since 2015-16 have been going up every year about 4.56%. That's every year. And that's the majority of our budget, as well as benefits, which is 12%. I believe this is 70, I don't know my percents now of the budget, but this is a significant piece of our budget. So when you look at these numbers, and then you see the charter school funding has also gone up, this will flatten out going forward. But this has also been rising. So these numbers are much higher than these. And this is what's resulting in a structural deficit, that we just do not have revenues that meet our expenses, and so we had to make some cuts. So where does that leave us? What are we going to do next? Because we know that this situation is really not going to resolve itself. We have this deficit structural issue going forward. And our board, I think, is doing a number of things that we could look at in three baskets. We're focusing on transparency in terms of understanding the challenges in front of us and explaining them to the community. We are looking at advocacy, where we are securing state and local solutions. How can we make our budget situation better? How can we address this structural imbalance? And we are focusing on stewardship. How do we maximize the funds that we have to drive student achievement and equity? If we look at transparency, how do we understand the challenges? Our board made a presentation, as I said, last week, and these documents are available on the website for people to look at. There's a very elaborate presentation, and there's a Q&A. We will be presenting to the Municipal Council on May 28th, where we will also talk about how our budget works, what the drivers are, and the challenges that we face. And we are continuing to reach out to our community, working with our teachers and staff, our parents, our PTOs, community residents, our community partners. We are meeting with people. We met with the council again last week, the municipality. We meet on a regular basis. We met with Princeton University last week, and we are trying to establish and create relationships where we can explain what is going on with the schools, what our challenges are, and try to find cooperation and partnership going forward to help us address them. Advocacy is a big part of what we need to do as a board and what we've been working on. At the state level, we are trying to increase and retain the revenue that we have. And there's two things that are underfunded that would help us a great deal. And one is that if we had a fully funded school formula aid, our district would receive almost $1 million more each year from the state. And the second thing is the extraordinary aid for special education, and that is aid that comes for certain amounts that we spend above a threshold, say $55,000 per student. And we have in the past not received full funding for that, and if that were to change, we could receive up to $500,000 in 1 year. And there's also a fundamental disconnect that we're looking at between the fact that our tax levy is capped at 2%, looking back to our spending, and the fact that our tax base is growing, which is not connected to our ability to tax. And so we're receiving more children, and we have the same amount of funds. So it's a stress on our ability to educate going forward. So we can try to advocate at the state level to kind of address this imbalance in regulation. And the other thing that's affecting us in Princeton and around the state is the charter school funding formula, where it's kind of pitting us against those others in our community at the charter school, and it's pinching the charter school as well. They have difficulties maintaining their budget. They take money from us, and it's kind of a zero-sum game. And we have been collaborating with the charter school to try to advocate for changes to that legislation at the state level. At the local level, this is important. At the local level, we need to plan for growth in our community, to have growth and good schools. And right now, as I said, it's a bit in conflict because of our 2% levy cap, where we have a fixed budget, and when we have growth, we don't have the ability to grow our budget equally. So we as a board will try to inform decisions on zoning development in our town with school impact data. We can produce that and add it to the discussion so that we give voice to the issues that face the schools. It's simply showing the numbers, bringing the data to the table, and informing the discussion. We can also present solutions to compensate for the cost of school impact when we talk about development and different ways that we're growing going forward. There's creative solutions to think about how when developers come in, we may look at the impact on the schools and try to receive some sort of compensation. We can also plan for financially sustainable increase capacity in our schools. Again, we are at capacity, at or over capacity in all of our facilities. How do we expand our facilities in a way that we can sustain financially going forward? How do we manage it with the operating budget that we have? We also are engaging in long-term master planning with the planning board of the community, and we've met with them, we will continue to meet with them, and we're trying to think clearly about what do we need to do in the next 3 to 5 years in terms of school sites, our own sites, or perhaps sites that are available to us, and what do we need to plan for the next 30 to 50 years as our schools continue to grow and we look at our community being continually built and kind of there's less space available. So how do we think as a community what makes sense for the whole town, where the schools should belong? And the other thing that we need to do is support locally completing the census count, because all of our federal funding that comes to us as schools is based on our census count. And so one of the things we can do locally is to support the municipality, who they are creating the census committees, and they'll be doing a lot of work on this. And the mayor has asked that if anyone's listening to this and wants to become involved, that we could then either contact Liz Lempert or Letitia Fraga on the council. They're both now gearing up and starting to plan for the census. So we can encourage our parents and our community to be part of that effort. Also, advocacy. We are reaching out to local legislators to achieve some of the goals I just talked about in the previous slide. We are talking to the municipality. We're going to meet with the council. We've met with the planning board, and we are also working with New Jersey School Board Association and other associations around the state who are advocating at the state level. We are also going to be giving information out to the community about how they could advocate at the state level for extraordinary aid for special ed. We understand from some of our state organizations that this is a current issue and there's a possibility of us getting some more funding. So we will be providing information on that. Again, on the census, it's important for people to support that effort. We have formed a future enrollment committee that is looking at the demography data that we had last year and updating that. We're currently waiting for the affordable housing numbers to come so we can be more accurate, but we have a number of citizens who are serving on that committee and have agreed to help us create a narrative that we all can understand about where the growth is going and coming in our community. And now we are in the process of gathering a strategic advisory committee on growth and capacity, and that is a group of citizens who have and experts who have offered to help us to measure school impact as we make development decisions. They are going to help us think about strategic decisions in terms of school sites. So we're very happy that these individuals have stepped up and have agreed to help us, and we'll be giving out more information as those committees kind of come and become more active. So where are we going forward? How are we addressing this potential deficit next year? What are we going to do with the funds that we have? We are exploring new models of collaborative decision-making with our staff. We hope that we can work together to try to figure out solutions going forward. We know we have to rethink how we deliver education, because what we've been doing thus far is not something we necessarily can afford going forward. We need to find synergies and cost savings, and we are currently working with the municipality. There's I think there are meetings this week or tomorrow to find a consultant to help us work together to try to find cost savings with the municipality. We've been talking to the Princeton Charter School, and I know we have ongoing efforts in the area of busing right now where we're trying to find efficiencies and save money. We have other community partners that we are in dialogue with, and when we can find ways to share services or share people or save costs, we're doing so. And we also need to innovate how we teach and learn going forward, and Superintendent Cochran has spoken about this quite often last year in connection with the referendum, but we are thinking about how do we think about the future of pedagogy, and we hope to gather some people together that can help us do that as well, and be creative in our collaboration with our partners to think about new ways of educating our children to meet our mission within our means. We also are looking at best practices and cost-saving ideas from other districts. Dan Dart and Betsy Baglio have volunteered to help think about philanthropy and are working with PEF and have some really interesting ideas there. And Steve is going to talk a bit about his PPS Saves link on the website, where we are looking for people to suggest things that can generate cost savings. So I just want to say that I think about this in terms of transparency, advocacy, and stewardship. We have students who are prepared for lives of joy and purpose. We have educators, staff, and administrators who are implementing our vision for education in Princeton. We have a board that's leading with values, and we're supporting our mission. And we have a community that we hope trusts and partners with the schools. And if all of that can come together, we can find our way to be sustainable financially. So I just want to bring us back to our mission and try to give us a sense of we're working hard. We know that the last couple weeks have been tough, and we're not happy that we had to go through all this together, but we want people to understand that we as a board have a lot of things that we're working on, and we look forward to making progress together with the community. Thank you. That brings us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I actually want to begin tonight with some inspiration from our students. So after school today, I had the opportunity to attend the celebration of our team of students from PHS who earlier this month were the national winners of the 2019 Euro Challenge. So the Euro Challenge, for those of you who may not know about it, it's sponsored by the delegation of the European Union to the United States, and as well as the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And the challenge tests students' knowledge of some really complex economic issues that are facing the European Union and asks them to propose creative solutions to those problems. So they might range from youth unemployment to the management of migration to economic inequalities within and across countries. So our students were actually the best of more than 90 teams that participated in this challenge. So after congratulating them, I asked them, as the resident economic experts in our community, if they had any suggestions for how we should go about addressing the financial challenges we are experiencing as a district. And their overwhelming response, and there were 9 of them in the room: learn as much as you can and listen to each other. This was intertwined with comments about the power and importance of free pizza to drive creativity, but it came back to learn as much as you can, listen to each other. And I've been reflecting on that, and I believe that it's really in our collective knowledge and creativity that we will find the answers to the issues we're facing. When economic resources become scarce in any organization, there is always a tendency towards self-preservation. One group can be pitted against another, but as a school system, we share a common bond, a common goal, and I think a loftier purpose. Administrators, teachers, staff, we're all here to support one another and the students that we share. And as a community, too, we share a common commitment to serve and support our children. I am truly honored to be the superintendent in a community where we are defined by partnership and collaboration. As a school district, we share services with the town, and as Beth just mentioned, we're going to be working with them to expand those opportunities. We come together with our Ys, our library, the university, our education foundation, our PTOs, and really a host of other groups to support and inspire our kids. We work closely with the charter school, and of course, we are faithfully supported in countless ways by our friends and family in Cranberry. Beth has challenged us just now tonight to engage in some collective advocacy to expand the resources available to our schools, and we will post those opportunities that you mentioned on the website as soon as we can. We're also eager to engage the entire community in creative and common sense approaches to maximize the resources that we can invest in our children. So to that end, I'm happy to announce what you referenced in your comments, the PPS Saves, which is will be, as of tomorrow, I'm hoping, a button on our website that will link to a form inviting everyone, students, staff, parents, and community members, to share their ideas for how we might save money and still enhance our mission. So this is what the form will look like. So it invites anyone to share their ideas. Once we have captured those ideas, they'll be sent actually to you, Tom, to our BA, who can then distribute them to the appropriate administrator or to the appropriate board committee for evaluation and possible implementation. So it asks for your role in the district, an area of the district that you think your idea could impact or enhance. And you'll see some of them listed there, from curriculum instruction to facilities and maintenance to transportation technology. And then we close with our mission statement and a question about how you think the idea might mesh with the mission of the district. So for example, I think at our last meeting we talked about something as simple as how turning off the lights in all of our classrooms when they're not being used could save the district thousands of dollars and also support our mission of teaching our students about the sustainability and wellness of our planet. So there would be a good example of the kind of thing that we're looking for. And I asked the members of the Euro Challenge team to look for this button tomorrow, send us their ideas. And they started to have some just in the conversation that we had after school today. So this was an idea that came from, I think, the discussions we had at the last meeting. We know that there are great ideas that are out there by all members of our community, and we're looking to solicit those. We're looking to listen. So the web form will be posted on the main page of our website tomorrow, and you'll be taken to that form, and then it's off to Tom to see where it goes from there. So just as I began tonight with some inspiration from our students, I want to end my comments in the same way. And I think I shared this with the board in my notes from Sunday evening, but this Friday, May 24th, the students and the staff at Princeton High School will take time to join together in a day of dialogue around issues of social justice. This is set up as a kind of unconference where students and teachers will share in the facilitation of small group discussions or service projects designed to raise awareness or take action around social issues of genuine concern to our students and faculty. The day of dialogue, I see it as a critical data point in our commitment to racial literacy and equity in the district. Racial literacy and equity can be represented on a continuum. On one end of the continuum is active discrimination. In the middle of that continuum might be growing self-awareness and awareness of others. And then at the end of the continuum is really that advocacy for social justice. And it's that advocacy for social justice that is the equity goal for which we all are striving. So I really want to thank Vice Principal Angela Ciso-Stentz and one of our esteemed teachers, Dr. Joy Barnes-Johnson, for their work and vision in organizing this day for our students and staff and providing them with this opportunity and the agency to really move along that equity continuum. This district remains fully committed to its mission of equity, which includes closing the achievement gap, fostering wellness, inspiring innovation, and knowing and meeting the needs of every student. The budget cuts we had to make are painful to all of us. I know to everyone sitting around this table and to those throughout our school community. But I have faith that the leaders in our schools, and by that I mean our administrators, our teachers, our students, will continue to direct their resources in ways that are consistent with our goals of wellness and equity. We have never wavered in our commitment to our most vulnerable students. The reductions we are making will be accompanied by creative and compassionate efforts, including community partnerships, to meet our students' needs. And our budget will continue to support professional development for all our staff and equity-related efforts, such as differentiation of instruction, awareness of implicit bias, and culturally responsive teaching. A budget, as we have said in the past, is a statement of our values, but so too is our behavior. As we move forward, how we treat each other, how we listen to one another, how we collaborate in the best interest of our children will define us as a district. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I believe this takes us to our committee reports. First, I've neglected to introduce Bill Morlock. our counsel from Parker McKay, who's agreed to join us today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I think that takes us to the committee reports, and I think that Michelle is missing us today, so we won't have equity. Students are first. I don't want to skip you, Sam. Go ahead.
Good evening. For our ninth report, Allie and I surveyed students on their use of the Tiger Time block in their schedule. We asked students how and where they spent their Tiger Time, how meaningful it was to them, and for potential improvements to the Tiger Time block. A total of 123 students were surveyed. They responded through a voluntary online Google survey posted in grade-specific Facebook groups. Tiger Time is a block of 44 minutes at the end of E and F days in Princeton High School's current schedule. Peer group uses the F-Day Tiger Time slot for its programs as freshmen. If students are not in the peer group program, this is a free time for them. Students are encouraged to participate in clubs or other extracurriculars during this time. On E-days, this is an unstructured block for all students. Some students choose to leave school early. Of the students surveyed, approximately half of students sampled responded that they normally spend Tiger Time at home, with the other half spending it in school. 92% said that teachers were open to meeting with students during the Tiger Time period. In terms of how students used this time in school, 40% met with teachers, 42.2% used it for in-school extracurriculars, 42.2% used it for hanging out with their peers in school, and 47.7% worked on homework in school. Additionally, 22.4% said that they used it to do extracurriculars outside of school, 47.4% said that they spent Tiger Time with peers outside of PHS, and 39.7% completed homework outside of school. An overwhelming majority of students sampled, 91.3%, said that they found their time in Tiger Time to be more meaningful than homeroom. Some students suggested placing Tiger Time in the mornings on E-days or F-days. We would recommend against this, as many students would take the opportunity to sleep in, and fewer would realize the potential benefits of this unstructured period in school. Some extracurricular leaders complain that the rotating day of the week for Tiger Time makes it difficult for them to schedule extracurriculars when many students participate in outside of school activities that have weekly schedules. Additionally, looking forward, we recommend more considerations of the facilities impacts of Tiger Time, as students complain of overcrowding in the Learning Commons and the Idea Center during this time. For next month's report, we hope to examine opinion on the experimental schedule changes. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Any questions for Sam? No? Then we'll go on to facilities. Greg, would you like to go?
Good evening, everybody. Facilities Committee met on May 13th, the last time. And just to follow up on some updates that we shared last time, as the board knows, we do have one project ready where the bids have come in, and so that project is underway, and that is the installation of the AC at the high school. There are two other sets of bids that are coming in this week, so we'll report back to all of you when those bids do come in. And that is on the installation of the AC and the HVAC system at Riverside and electrical upgrades in the 4 schools. I wanted to really focus in on what the Facilities Committee has been focusing on, which is to try to engage with the public and with our stakeholders as much as possible. So just as a heads up for the public and for the rest of the board, we are going to be devoting, and I appreciate this, a substantial amount of board time over the next few board meetings to updates and learning more about aspects of the referendum. So we are going to be also meeting with the neighbors around the high school to bring them up to speed with the types of changes that are going to be planned for the high school, and frankly, why some of the disruptions to these neighbors is so important, and what these disruptions are for. So we wanted to give them a chance to find out first. Then on June 4th, at our June 4th meeting, there's going to be our first public forum, which is an update on the summer projects, and also sort of an advanced look at the other projects that make up part of this referendum. So that includes the high school changes, the fields, And then the second week later, on June 11th, at the board meeting there, what we wanted to do is actually provide a security forum, a school security forum. So a number of the really important projects in the referendum involve aspects of school security, but they're just aspects, and they're part of a wider plan on how the district is approaching school security. And so at this forum, we're going to have experts from the state, other experts, as well as our own school safety specialist, to talk about the hardware, the vestibules, so that you're looking to do, but also the type of changes in practices and other aspects of the softer aspects that go together around school security. And we really wanted the public to have a good sense as to what has been done over the last 2 years already, what the guidance has been, what the guidance is here in New Jersey, and why what we're doing aligns with those, and give the public and the board members a chance to really ask any specific questions about all of that. So that's the heads up for what's coming over the next 3 weeks or so. Our next meeting is on June 3rd, I think.
Thanks, Greg. Can you just summarize once more the dates that we should keep in mind? So it's June 4th?
The board meetings
June 4th?
on June 4th and June 11th.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you. And the neighbors meeting.
And there's
Did
a
you give a
neighbors
date
meeting
for
and
that?
those are, invitations have gone out on that.
Great, thank you. Finance, Bill?
The Finance Committee met today, May 20th, in this building at 2 p.m., and we discussed the following items. The first was the purchase and installation of access points for the schools. The Technology Department provided a presentation that explained the needs for this new equipment, including the increasing rate of failure of our current 8-year-old and older access points. So there should be something like our at least a 10% better result from the equipment, is the way it was described to us. We also, as directed by the board at our last meeting, we discussed the intricacies of the calculation of the special ed costs for our send-receive relationship with Cranberry. First, we reviewed the components of the resource room tuition amount as outlined in the 10-year send-receive agreement with Cranberry. Then we reviewed and discussed the formula for calculating the actual cost for the resource room as outlined in the agreement. We then, the contract requires that the actual cost for the resource room be documented and provided to Cranberry by November 1 for the previous year that ended on June 30th. And this process will be completed by our business administrator, during the month of July even. Once we've given that to Cranberry with the actual cost calculations, they'll compare that to the $80,000 estimate that was included in the 2018-19 agreement. And then they have 45 days to either pay us the excess or for us to pay them the difference, depending upon whether it was greater or lower than the $80,000. We then moved on to another cost savings area. We looked at district comparative data over a range of costs that range from salaries to operational costs to legal costs to classroom supplies, comparing them to different districts, to the state, and looked at our numbers there. Our next step with a lot of this data is to dig in deeper to each of these costs to better understand why our costs are higher or lower than other districts. So again, we hope ultimately to find some cost savings through this analysis and understanding. We also took a look at the ridership numbers on our school buses. We measured ridership on 2 different days in April, morning and afternoon, to measure our rate of usage. And we have a lot of numbers there, but this was during April, so we're going to do some other months when it might be different types of numbers earlier in the year, maybe colder days, but we'll measure the ridership to better understand the usage and whether there are cost savings that can be gained in this area. I think, Tom, you said that we already have some that we've identified that there will be a cost savings. I think one route might be reevaluated. So
That's right.
So there's already savings you found just from this. It was really interesting to read this and see how much the numbers range all over the place. Finally, we received an update on the number of employees switching to the high deductible insurance plans with health savings accounts. For the vast majority of the district's employees, this provides a cost savings in their health insurance cost for them. It also provides a significant savings to the district, which ultimately helps save jobs. I do not know the date of our next Finance Committee meeting, but I don't know if you have that handy, Tom. I didn't see it on the, in the board packet, but it will be publicly available soon.
It is June 10th.
June 10th, okay. 2 PM in this building?
Right.
Bill, can I ask a quick question about ridership? It was my understanding that if a student is eligible for a bus, that we can never consolidate routes to the point that we take away a seat from someone. I mean, we've asked about this in the past. So if someone never rides the bus, but they're on the list who's eligible, so when you're looking at cost savings, is it potentially maxing out the bus, knowing that 50 students will never be on that bus?
And I might have to get Tom to help
Okay.
explain this, but looking
Thank
at the
you.
high school, for example, I found it interesting, a 54-passenger bus, and that it is assigned 60 students in this route, 65 in this route. And I asked Tom about that, because I had always heard, urban legends,
Right.
that once you're signed up for the bus, they can't do what Southwest Airline does and overbook. But for the high school, where there's, I think, Tom, you explained, where there's people that might be driving sometimes, you can fudge it a bit at the high school to make sure that you increase your capacity. But I don't know if you want to address that, Tom?
Yeah, it's a pretty common practice in school districts to oversubscribe at the high school level. In previous districts, not uncommon for us to subscribe about 70 on a bus due to the fact that we have a number of students that are driving. We also have students that don't want to be on a bus. So we feel pretty safe in that area, oversubscribing.
Okay.
But I don't think you can do that for the lower grades, right?
No.
Okay.
No, but I think we can look for ways to potentially consolidate some routes where the numbers are a little on the lower side. And that's what we'll be focusing on.
Thank you.
I also have a question. On the resource room, are we also looking at things like speech therapy? Is resource room a very broad word, or is it just kids who are going, this is for the Cranberry?
The law only allows for us to charge for resource center. With respect to related services, those get distributed to various cost centers based upon enrollment in those categories. Most of your budget is split that way, and related services would be one of those categories. So, for example, if you had 30% of your population at the high school, those particular costs, whatever they are in that area, would be reflected at 30% and would be built into the regular 912 high school rate.
I'm sorry, what's the 912? I'm sorry.
Grades 9 to 12, the high school
grades
rate?
9 to 12, okay.
Yeah.
All right, because I thought, and I wasn't obviously at finance, but I thought that we were going to do, what you're going to do for for November is the detail, and I guess.
For resource center.
Of just the resource center.
Because that cost is not distributed across various categories.
All right, so it's no more than the resource center. It's not.
That's it. Yeah, the only other potential category where there would be other costs would be if any of the students were in self-contained programs, but we don't have any of those students.
Okay. The other question on the HSA, have we had the representatives go to the elementary, to all the schools? to meet
Yes.
With staff? Okay. And so that's all been done. We're just waiting for people to pass their papers in if they're.
They have until the end of the month.
Right. Okay. I just didn't know if we had had people go to the individual schools. Okay.
We did.
Thank you.
And maybe it'd be good when it's all said and done in June or afterwards to talk to people that didn't and find out why they didn't, talk to people that did and find out why they did, so that.
One of the challenges that we learned through the process is we have flexible spending accounts for our employees. And one of the limitations with signing up for a health savings account is you can't have a flexible spending account. And our flexible spending accounts run on a calendar year basis. So anybody who is currently in a flexible spending account is not eligible to sign up for a health savings account. So I asked our insurance broker whether we could have another open enrollment period for January so that anybody who does have an interest in going into the health savings account could take advantage of it at that time and not opt for the flexible spending account. So they're going to do that
So we'll have an open enrollment period in
for
January?
January, yes.
Because, I mean, health savings accounts, the little bit I said, are so much better than a flexible savings account. I mean, I don't know if that is your experience, Tom, but the HSAs are amazing compared to the
Well, the HSA gives you the same benefit as an FSA, but your out-of-pocket is less as far as what you're contributing toward the premiums.
Plus, don't the flexible spending accounts, don't you lose them if you don't use them at the end of the year?
Some do.
Yeah.
It depends on how the flexible spending accounts are structured.
And the HSA is effectively a 401K when you hit retirement age.
You
I
get
mean,
to keep that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bill.
So I have a question since Finance and Bill brought up the $80,000 for the reimbursement of the Resource Center. Was that number higher at one time, and did it come down? If so, why?
The history is that we've been at the $80,000 number. This would be the third year, I believe it is. Prior to that, it was at 190, and before that, it was 180. That's the history that I have available to me. There was an agreement between the two districts through the business administrators to reduce it to 80,000, since the 180 or 90, whatever the number was before that, could not be documented. So it was agreed to reduce that number.
And would you expect it to stay at that $80,000 level, or are our costs running above that?
I would say that wherever our final number ends up for this year, when we do the actuals, that when we go to build the 2021 contract, that would become the baseline.
And do you have a sense of what that is?
Roughly, we're going to probably be in the 180 range. But we have to do, that's just looking at a point in time and annualizing it. We have to go through the detail throughout the year to see how our enrollment fluctuates. So it could go up or down from that number.
Thank you. I know there's a tuition agreement on the agenda. Is that a consent item, or is that a standalone item? Do you know?
It's standalone. I think it's standalone.
Thank you.
All right. Should we go on?
If I would like
Okay.
to just say a few words about our relationship with Cranberry. Cranberry families are longtime partners and friends. Their children are our children. Cranberry contributes in every way to the Princeton Public Schools. They contribute time and talent and of course, tuition, and we benefit tremendously from all of that. Cranberry's tuition contributions are the maximum allowable under the law, and in fact increased last year by 6.4%, or approximately $260,000. And a question was raised at the last meeting that may have suggested that the Cranberry School District had not paid their fair share with regard to special education costs beyond the base tuition. And I just want to set the record straight that the truth is that Cranberry has always paid in full and on time exactly what Princeton has billed them. And as was shared here from the finance report, moving forward, we will be itemizing those bills, and a true-up will take place at the end of every year.
Well, was there a period, a year, that we didn't bill them the proper amount, and we lost out on some reimbursement for special ed?
I honestly don't know. We have not been itemizing. Cranberry has asked us to itemize, and we will be doing that moving forward. So you heard from the business administrator what the history has been on the agreed amount that was paid, but I don't know if that was ultimately above or below what the estimated amount. I don't know if the actual amount was above or below that.
Right. Thank you, Steve. I think we'll move on now to personnel. Debbie?
The Personnel Committee met on Wednesday, April 24th, and we spent the whole day listening to presentations from principals, supervisors, and administrators on non-tenured candidates eligible for tenure in the 2019-2020 school year, as well as first, second, and third year non-tenure staff under consideration for reappointment. The Personnel Committee also met on Monday, May 13th. The committee reviewed a sick leave bank request, which is on the agenda tonight for approval. The committee discussed the full-time JW liaison position. The district-wide search committee for vice principal of PHS met on Friday, May 17th to interview candidates. The district-wide search committee for a business administrator will meet on Thursday, May 23rd. The supervisor of mathematics and business education district-wide search is currently in process. The committee reviewed the Quality Single Accountability Continuum, QSAC, which is the New Jersey Department of Education's comprehensive accountability system, and the committee was appraised of some possible personnel issues that might occur in this audit. The committee was informed of the Comprehensive Equity Plan, CEP, which outlines the district's 3-year Equality and Equity Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I think that takes us to policy with Greg and Jess.
So, good evening, everyone. So, Jess and I just wanted to report out that policy met on May 6th. We had a good discussion about a number of issues that will be coming up to the board, but we decided to hold off and bring it up at our next opportunity to follow up on a couple of issues first. So our next meeting will be Friday, May 31st, and we're going to roll in the policies that we wanted to bring in today with some more policies, so expect a larger batch of policies for first reading then. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Greg. I think that takes us to student achievement. Betsy?
Thank you very much. The Student Achievement Committee met twice since our last update on Friday, April 26th and Friday, May 10th. I will try to make this brief, but we have covered quite a few things. On April 26th, Tom Venanzi, our interim business administrator, updated the committee on the insurance that's provided for overnight international trips. Our PPS insurance is provided by the New Jersey School Insurance Group, who uses various carriers. Once a trip is approved, the insurance provider will not change their approval, and the superintendent would be the sole decision maker should changes to a trip be made due to unforeseen circumstances. The committee would like to better understand the internal emergency process within the district, including who the point of contact is for each trip and who would make decisions should something unexpected happen. So in order to improve this communication, trip leaders will be asked when submitting paperwork to the committee to include this information as well as the letter they've created detailing the trip that will be given to parents. This is to ensure that PPS communication is clear and consistent for every trip. After it is approved by our insurance carrier, the trip approval package will come to Student Achievement for review. The committee will continue to work with Tom to clarify the process, and we thank Tom for helping us out with that. Christina Donovan attended Student Achievement to present a health survey that will be distributed to 75 randomly selected students at PHS. The Student Achievement Committee supports the distribution of this survey and hopes the district will continue to revise its offering for students based on what is learned from this statewide data. Annie Kosick and Marigela Bajaj shared with the committee information regarding the New Jersey School Performance Rankings for PHS. The committee welcomed Jessica Baxter in her new role as the incoming principal of PHS. Jessica discussed with the committee the Challenge Success Space Framework as well as the ongoing work of the Bell Committee. Jessica also spoke with us about the topic of absenteeism as a student engagement issue. Knowing every student is a priority for the PHS administration, and they continue to work to engage students in learning rather than instituting punitive measures regarding class absences. The committee suggested there be communication to parents and students regarding expectations for attending class. The committee thanked Jessica for her time and attention to the needs of all PHS students and wished her well in her new role. And we hope to invite Jessica back a few times a year. It was a great discussion with her. On May 10th, the June Euro Challenge trip to Washington, D.C. was approved. Steve mentioned that winning team in his comments. Krista Gallion, the Director of Technology and Innovation, shared an update of the work of the Technology Steering Committee and their goals for the year ahead. They'll present recommendations to student achievement at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. The committee and those in attendance discussed with Krista topics such as benchmarking against other schools, guidelines related to the use of media in the classroom, concerns about digital security, and digital literacy as a goal for all of our students. We also discussed with Krista the possibility of offering new virtual PHS electives and what that would entail. The committee looks forward to receiving her committee's recommendations throughout the year. Patrick Lanahan, Supervisor for the Visual and Performing Arts, attended Student Achievement to share the department's ongoing efforts to ensure that every child has a place in the VPA program. Patrick also discussed with the committee two main concerns related to this year's PHS musical, the diversity of the cast and racial stereotypes that were presented in the show itself. The administration held separate meetings with the orchestra, the cast and crew, and the Chinese parent and student community. A student forum took place on May 1st and included experts in the field, and all were appreciative of the opportunity to speak together. The committee asked about the process for considering and choosing shows in the future and stated that production should relate to the PPS mission. Up to this point, students in the musical theater class were the only students cast in the PHS musical. However, in an effort to involve more students, the staff is strongly considering decoupling the musical theater class from the musical. The committee thanked Patrick for the efforts his department has made to involve as many students in the arts as possible and encouraged the department to find a way to include all students who'd like to take part in the annual musical at PHS. Kelly Curtis, Supervisor of Mathematics, and Jason Burr, the JW Principal, attended Student Achievement also on May 10th to propose changes to the math sequence at the middle school. In order to provide equity and access to all students, Kelly and Jason are proposing that 6th grade math be detracked. Therefore, all 6th graders will be placed in pre-algebra accelerated, as there currently are not marked differences between the accelerated and non-accelerated levels, as all students use the same book, and we believe that all students should have access to in-depth problem solving and mathematical concepts. Therefore, the recommendation of whether a student should take Algebra 1 Accelerated or the first half of algebra in 7th grade will come from one of two 6th grade math teachers who will in the future work together to make consistent recommendations that are based on multiple measures. The Student Achievement Committee shares the district's commitment to professional development for these teachers in order to be able to differentiate instruction, even more than they do so already, as well as time spent developing enrichment activities. This new 6th grade math structure, which 5th grade parents heard about last week in a letter from the math department, this structure does not change any options for students in 7th grade and beyond. One section of an additional course in 8th grade, geometry, will be added during the next school year in order to better meet students' needs. The committee thanked Jason and Kelly for their work and their partnership to develop a thoughtful and effective solution for the mathematics sequence at JW. So, the next Student Achievement Committee meeting will take place on June 7th at 11:30. The public is encouraged to attend these public meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy, for a very informative report and all that work. Are there any questions? If none, then I think we're going to move on to our time of a public forum on the agenda items. If there's anyone here who would like to speak, I think John McCann, you were first on the.
So I want to first thank the board for their service. I know it is volunteer, and especially now twice a month. That's a big haul, and especially these kind of weighty issues like budgets and things like that. And I know some personnel items on the agenda. So just kind of moving forward, one of the things, certainly the budget is a big issue with everyone. Renee and I, as co-presidents of the teachers union, I liked, and it was a beautiful sentiment that you started with, Beth, and talking about the kind of stones that you're unturning and really looking at a lot of different things. And we certainly welcome that partnership. And we want to say that in the beginning. I mean, I started my first year, we were on strike. And, you know, going forward, we've held picket signs out front of school. We've done a lot of collective work actions. And our leadership, we want to be collaborative. We want to work together, and we've tried over these 3 years, Renee and I have been working, we've tried to look for solutions. We have very little grievances because I think we've sat down at the table and worked things out before it even reaches those levels, which is really testament to that partnership. But I do think with the budget, you know, one of the things that we put out to all staff, and, you know, we were told is that, you know, the budget, it was going to be across the board cuts. That means PAA, PRESA, you know, unaffiliated positions, and PREA, you know, and that's something that was disappointing that didn't come, that wasn't the case. And I'm not arguing for more people to lose their jobs, but we want to be part of the conversation, and we feel like we have more of a voice to offer in this one, in this round. And I know when you're looking at the budget, things come up quickly, the state aid and all those things, but we want to sit down and have that conversation, because I do think teachers on the ground, and the other thing that was discussed was really about the impact to classrooms. classroom and minimizing that. And I think the people that are on the ground really have a lot of great ideas. Renee, I know, talking about the budget and having that on our agenda at our building meetings, this is something that we have great ideas from our staff. We welcome that opportunity, and I think we missed an opportunity here, and we would like to be more of a voice in the budget moving forward. So again, I thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who would like to say anything? Okay. Oh.
I just wanted to give a face to one of the people who was cut due to the budget a few weeks ago. And I just wanted to speak on her behalf. She's a bright, young, talented teacher, and I just wanted to give a little perspective to who she is.
Sorry, could you just, I'm so sorry, could you
Yeah.
state your name and who
Oh,
you
yes,
are?
absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm Kelly Riley. I teach at JW in the tech wing.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would like to share the story of a young, diligent teacher, Caitlin Hughes. Caitlin has taught US 1, US 2, World History, and an elective in which she doubled enrollment. She is a current inclusion teacher who holds a bachelor's degree in history and a master's degree in secondary education. She was ranked highly effective for 3 years in a row on the rigorous...
I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you could avoid mentioning that teacher's name, they haven't been rights noticed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this teacher, she was ranked highly effective for 3 years in a row on a rigorous annual performance review evaluated by some of our finest administrators. She's respected by her colleagues and loved by her students. She has dedicated herself to the school district through her teaching, volunteerism, advisorships, and coaching roles. She was hired to teach in this great district because the district recognized her value. I recently got to know her on the lacrosse field at JW. We were both hired to coach this season. We began meeting midwinter after board approvals to discuss and plan out the season. As we began to get to know her, I recognized in her what the district saw immediately, a bright and talented person, always prepared, knowledgeable, and professional. During the few short months that we began getting to know each other, she shared her excitement about completing her 4th year APR, that she would seemingly earn tenure. She had a couple of meetings with her new supervisor, who began in December, and all was going fine. There was never an indication to her, a highly effective teacher, that she would not achieve tenure, although there was the constant murmur that teachers and support staff were going to be let go to a budget shortfall. Unfortunately, she learned she was one of those being let go from the district due to the budget constraints this past month. She felt blindsided since there was no indication that she would not earn tenure. She is extremely upset, discouraged, and confused as to why her inclusion program was the one chosen. Caitlin took time to speak with the building principal and asked if cuts had to be made. Why an inclusion program? Why were other programs not considered? She left with understanding that if she taught AP, she would still have a job. The emphasis seemed to be placed on keeping AP courses and reducing inclusion programs. It just doesn't make sense. We have a deficit, and yet aside from continually hearing that teacher salaries, healthcare, and the charter school are to blame, none of us completely understand what is going on in accounting that we had to let go over 24 teachers and support staff, and yet miraculously, we were able to save every administrative position. During a time when we are seeking a $100 million referendum, and enrollment is slated to increase, how can we afford to let go of the amazing teachers and support staff who impact the very students that this district is charged with? As we approach the end of this year and head into the last contract year, when budgets seemingly remain at a shortfall, premiums high, taxes burdensome, and now morale very, very low, I beg everyone at this table to lead and make decisions with strength, care, ingenuity, and compassion. I beg you to remember that people are people. It is my understanding that not one administrator was let go. I attribute this to the close relationships everyone has with our administrative staff. They are wonderful, hardworking people. So too are the teachers who spend their days in their classrooms working tirelessly on behalf of the incredible children of this community. No one wants to look someone in the eye and tell them they are fired because of no wrongdoing on their part. People are people and do not deserve to be blindsided in meetings. Students do not need to lose teachers who they form deep learning connections with. We must do better than this. We must utilize the tremendous skill and creativity we all possess. Am I done?
No,
Okay.
please finish. Please
I
finish.
know, I'm very wordy. I apologize. We would never treat our students like this, and as we prepare for negotiations, we beg you to remember we are all people working hard on behalf of our students in this beautiful community. We care deeply and only want the best for everyone here. We must be solution-based, not political. We must find mutual, transparent respect for our parents, staff, administration, most importantly, above all, our students. The moment we as a district figure out this formula, this is the moment we become the lighthouse district that we've been striving to be. At the end, I urge the board to reconsider her position. I'm sure it was a difficult decision to make. I can't imagine how difficult it was. Please let this be an easy one. Her students need her in her classroom. Her athletes need her on that field. Let's not lose a teacher because of politics and budget. Let's bring this highly qualified teacher, dedicated inclusion teacher back. I just got to know her over the past couple months, and I know we're coming upon some difficult times, and I just, again, wanted to kind of give you that story behind the scenes of what's going on. I know these are not easy decisions, but I didn't want her to be dismissed, the highly effective teacher that she is, who isn't even sure she's going to go back into teaching at this point. And it's really sad to see a person who has student loans for the next decade or so, who came into this incredible district, and now doesn't know what to do, if this is even the right place for her. So I just wanted to leave you knowing a little bit more of those stories. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for those very important words. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Again, we ask it, you keep it to 3 minutes, and we didn't mean to have an alarm there, but apologize for that.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rick Miller. I've been with the district over 25 years in multiple capacities. And I just wanted to say, I know that everyone before me right now cares deeply about our district and about our students. And I do understand the structural constraints that we are facing as a district. But I also just want to say that I'm really saddened that we're at this position right now, as I know all of you around this table are. I've lived through this sort of crisis before here in our district, and it's not easy. We had to let a number of people go at that time, and we suffered K-12. Our class sizes were over 30 throughout the high school, and we survived. We didn't thrive, we survived. It impacted all of our students, as I said, K-12 directly. We made it through a couple of years until we had to put those positions back because we couldn't sustain this lighthouse district, as Kelly mentioned, with those sorts of cuts. And I worry that we're sort of in that same position now, that we'll make it through. We'll make it through this month. We'll make it through this week. But then the next year, we're going to face those impacts. So we're going to see it in our class sizes across the board, K-12. And I'm really worried that over the years, we started replacing some of those positions, but I've also seen some of the other non-teaching positions expand here in the district. I've seen some of our bureaucracy grow, and I realize that, you know, some of these things are really, really important, but I am worrying about the impact we have directly on our students. And as I said, it is going to impact our students next year and the year after. And I don't know what the solution is. I like that we're putting suggestions out there to try to see what we can do, because I really feel we do need to do something. And I'm really afraid that we're getting to the point where we will pay the consequences next year, and then we'll be trying to fix what the position we're in. So I just want to say I'm very saddened, and I know it's a lot of work ahead of all of you, but I hope we can find some solutions to where we are right now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has a comment? If there's no further comments?
Can I
You
just
wanna
say
say
something?
something?
Sure. I want to thank John, I want to thank Kelly, I want to thank Rick for your expression of your sentiments, for your focus on collaboration and problem solving, and the good relationship that we've had in the past, and the one that you want to see moving forward. I think we can solve some of these problems collectively. I want to acknowledge the sadness that was expressed at the reductions that were made, and it's one that I think everyone sitting around this table shares. And so I look forward to that continued collaboration and the ways that we can come together. I do believe that administrators, staff, teachers together share that common focus on students. I do want to correct two things that were said so that the members of the public who are listening aren't left with a false impression. When positions were cut, we didn't cut programs. So there was a mention of an inclusion program being cut and not AP. We just reduced the number of positions and periods, and I have faith in our administrative team that they will assign those periods where they're most needed based on our values of equity and our responsibility to fulfill our legal obligations to provide for any students with special needs. And there was one administrative reduction that was made.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So I think if we're moving on with the agenda, we are on item K, personnel, and that is a action item. And could I have a motion for the personnel agenda? Or Mike, did you want to make any comment on that? Okay, then could I have a motion? Betsy, second. Dan, all in favor? Motion passed, unanimous. Then we move on to item L. You with me, Tom? Tom, yep. Item L, curriculum and instruction. Now we're going to go through a number of items that are consents, and I just want the public to know that we've had these on the agenda, and many of us have asked questions and had our questions answered. I will read the title of the items, and if there is a question or something to discuss, just stop me. But because they're consent items, I'll go through them rather quickly. Item L, curriculum and instruction. First, Learning Ally, audio textbooks and literature, supplemental materials. Item 2, Learning A to Z, supplemental materials. Item 3, West Interactive Services Corporation, school messenger. Item 4 is an action. So we will come to item 4, which is on EduSeer, and it is the endorsement of a summer school education option for high school students who obtain credits for graduation requirements through EduSeer for the summer of 2019. So could I have a motion for that item? Dan, a second? Bill, any discussion?
Yes.
Debbie?
So I was part of another nonprofit, and we were helping pay for these, and they cost about $195, and really hard for the kids. You know, they have to get online. It's just not a really easy thing. I know this year Annie mentioned through an equity grant they're going to have teachers that will be able to help do humanities in the morning and math and science in the afternoon. But I had a question, because if a lot of these kids are working, will they be able to take part in that? My other question was, I was really hoping that the staff could find another tool. And I don't know if EduSeer is the only one out there, but not the most friendly. Makes it, you know. And then again, you know, I know there's a lot of reasons that kids have, you know, the kids aren't able always to pass all the classes during the semester. It's just, this summer stuff is really hard. And my husband, you know, helped tutor a boy with the math, and it was tough. You know, he spent a lot of hours with him, and you know, you only need to get, I think, a C to pass. And I'm just not sure if this is the best way for us to assist students who are doing this. I'm going to vote no, because I was hoping we'd have something else. And I'm excited to hear we're going to have the staff. I just don't know how many staff we're going to have. I don't know how many kids it's going to be, and I don't know if the funding is going to be enough. So I just wanted to give my information.
Thank you.
No, I'm sharing, because you had told me a lot. I'm sharing a lot of what you had told me and kind of where I'm coming from, and I appreciate you giving me that other stuff. But I just don't know, you know, our whole summer support for our students. I think it's something we need to, you know, understand, and maybe the root cause is a lot more going on during the school year. So I just wanted to share why I'm going to vote no.
Okay. I'll call for can I call for a vote? All in favor? Show of hands. That would be one against. Motion passed. What are we? We're 9? 8 to 1. We're 8. 4, 1 against. 4, 1. Okay, thank you. The next item is a consent. Item 5, SRC Solutions license renewal. Item 6, purchase of materials, curriculum associates, K-5 ready classroom mathematics and I-ready instruction. Item 7, curriculum management system, Rubicon International. Item 8, annual memberships for 2019-20 in the Minority Student Achievement Network, Tri-State Consortium, Princeton University Teachers as Scholars Program, and the Princeton University Quest Program. Item 9, grant acceptance, Sustainable Jersey for Small Schools grant. Item 10, student overnight trip. Then we're into Section M, Student Services Special Ed. And we are to the number 1, revised professional consulting services, 2018-19, Dr. Elliot Gursky. Number 2, educational placement of special needs pupil for 2018-19. Number 3, educational placement of special needs pupils for 2019-20. Number 4, competitive contracting award, 2019-20, advancing opportunities. Number 5, Invo Healthcare Associates, physical therapy and occupational therapy. Number 6, competitive contracting award, Wilson Reading and Language Services. Number 7, Invo Healthcare Associates, speech and language. That takes us to item N, business, finance, plant, and transportation, the financial reports. And that is a consent item. Can I have a motion for approval of the financial reports? Am I going? It is? It's a consent item, so never mind about the motion. I retract that. So, consent item, we're moving on. Item number 2, the Spiesel Architectural Group. This is a consent item.
Madam President, there was, the contract appeared today, and we haven't had sufficient time to review that. So can we have that taken off the agenda so we have time to review it and then put on the June meeting calendar?
So you're asking, let's ask the question, is it possible that that can be delayed until the next meeting?
There's no rush, but I'll just add that the contract was reviewed by the board attorney and was it's a standard AIA agreement and was adjusted to be in sync with the request for proposals that the district went out for, as well as the proposal that Spiesel had presented. So all of those terms and conditions that were in both documents are reflected in the form of agreement. I wouldn't go against what the board attorney is recommending to suggest that this is in compliance with what you asked for. And this is the same process that we went through with the EPIC agreement as well.
Right. But if there's a desire on the part of the board to have more time to look at the agreement and there's no issue with delay,
There's no issue.
I'm not sure.
Which committee reviews, would it be facilities or finance that would review this?
Well, like I said, I don't see a reason for that committee to review. The committee was heavily involved in the RFP process and developed the specifications that they wanted in terms of service. The agreement reflects that. So, the board attorney just followed through on all the documents that the board had put together.
The only thing I would add to that is that Spiesel was hired under a different board of education. And I think it's incumbent upon the new board to take a little bit of time to review the contract. And under our procedures, board agenda items normally go out on Friday, and we would have the weekend to review. And when I went to review this item, being a member of the Facilities Committee, there was no contract attached.
Yeah.
And when the contract was attached, I was at a Finance Committee meeting and had no time between meetings. So
Is
it's
there
just...
consensus of the board, I think, to delay this item to the next meeting? Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. So that one item will be moved to the next meeting. That leaves us, we're now item 3, 2019-20 schedule for requisition of local taxes. Item 4, send receive annual tuition agreement. That's an action item. So the next one is an action item, is the send receive annual tuition agreement with Princeton Cranberry. Can I have a motion? Greg, second. Bill? Any discussion?
Yes. So I'm confused. If I approve this, what does that mean for the resource? That's the only, I just want to understand, like, where you go back.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, because I know you
No,
wrote
that's
to
fine.
me, and I just...
It's fine. So there's two things that you have to understand. The first is you have a 10-year agreement that we're still working off of the first 10-year agreement. You recently approved a new 10-year agreement, which doesn't kick in until after this contract. But that 10-year agreement, which you've already approved.
The first one.
Right.
Okay.
Addresses the things that the Finance Committee looked at earlier today, dealing with the adjustments for Resource Center. It's always been in place. It's not anything new. We just haven't followed through on it. We are going to going forward. What the annual agreement is just reflecting what those costs are for the 1920 school year. So has nothing to do with the adjustments because that's built into the 10-year agreement. The numbers that are on this agreement are based on the projected enrollment that Cranberry has, the tuition rate that has been established for high school, as well as the $80,000 for Resource Center, which again, both items are subject to adjustment.
Adjustment, okay.
If no further discussion, I will call the question. Shall we do this one by a roll call vote?
Sure. Beth Barron?
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld?
Yes.
Daniel Dart?
No.
Jessica Deutsch? Yes. Bill Hare?
Yes.
Betsy Baglio?
Yes.
Brian McDonald?
Yes.
Gregory Stankiewicz?
Yes.
Evelyn Spahn?
Abstain.
So, motion passed.
Yes.
And that was motion passed with, I'm trying to say the numbers, I think it's important for,
7 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
thank you. That leads us to item 5, E-rate category 2 services. And that is for the point of access. These are the point of access hardware. Item 6, transportation for shared services agreement with the municipality of Princeton. Item 7, joint transportation agreement with East Windsor. Item 8, joint transportation agreement with West Windsor Plainsboro. Item 9, joint transportation with East Windsor, again. Item 10, bus safety drills for spring. Item 11, safety grants 2019 application and acceptance. Item 12, New Jersey SIAA membership. Item 13, additional non-public school security aid. Item 14, Outsourced Technology Solutions Award. Item 15, State Contract for District Print Management Services Contract.
May I comment on that one?
On the print management
On
services
15,
contract?
yeah.
Yes.
So we have an agreement for this next coming year for $46,000. And when I asked you how much we've spent this year, you said it was $36,000. And that would go until June 30th, right? So even if you add another month or whatever, it just was almost 8,000 more. And I was curious.
Sure, okay. The way it works is there's a fixed monthly amount that we pay for the service for these network devices that we have in the district. And that is based upon a certain ceiling of uses that we will have with those machines at a certain cost. So what happens is we get that monthly billing, which is roughly $2,900 a month. And then on top of that, there potentially could be overage charges for excess use. We get billed on that on a quarterly basis based upon our actual usage. That's what's built into that number. It's an estimate, but we only pay based on actual.
Well, again, this brings me back to the whole budget where I know we have like these little buffers all over the place. And I feel, I had that same issue with the travel. And maybe I'm just not understanding the math at all.
Well, a point of information that you missed was
Okay.
I didn't get the last bill yet. So
No, you told me that. You said, yeah, and then we'll get the next one.
I don't know what that's going to be until we receive it. So potentially, we could approach that number.
So we'd get a bill for almost $10,000?
Well, keep in mind, we're at the end of the year.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Next item, renewal of district website contract, 2019-20. Item 17, Microsoft Licensing Award, 2019-20. Item 18, formal RFP for the school athletic physician. Item 19, formal bid for the contract renewals, 2019-20. Item 20, travel and related expenses, 2018-19. Item 21, travel and related expenses, 2019-20. 22, fire and evacuation drills. 23, purchase of equipment, Apple products for instruction.
Yeah, can I comment on that too? I hope I am not getting a new Apple. I don't want one. I am still kind of trying to look for and understand, and I know you mentioned, Krista came to SAC, kind of the technology, big picture, where we're spending, because every month we spend a little, and we spend another little, and another little, and the littles are getting really big. Yeah, I don't know. I get a little nervous, that we're spending so much in technology. I know it says, it's public, general funds, but, I'm just saying that this is an area that it's a place where the money keeps going and we keep spending, and it's not like, labor, it's not like, healthcare. It's just kind of in there as curriculum. So anyway, I do not want a new computer at all. And I was just looking for some more information on this. And I know we're going to use the old ones to, for students who don't have them, but I don't know. I don't know what the life of these are. I don't know if this is like the whole direction we're supposed to be going in. But again, I don't know where technology is with their kind of future plan, so that they want to spend, $8 million in the next 3 years, and then every time they do something, we're like, okay, this comes out of here, this comes out of here. But in 3 years, we're done for a while. So I just wanted to put that out there. And I see now that this is consent, so I can't not vote on it. But, okay, I'm good.
Separate vote on that.
Would you like to separate it out?
Yes. Yes, I would love that.
Okay, can you do that?
I'm sorry about that.
And Madam Chair, can I just add that Facilities Committee had a chance today to hear from our IT department and about the different...
Finance.
I'm sorry,
Finance,
Finance, sorry.
Same people.
And at Finance, they went through and they talked exactly as was mentioned about how not only is this part of the plan going forward, that's a very rational plan in terms of how we approach when our equipment starts coming to the end of its useful life, but also the older equipment is then used and for other purposes as well, including to continue to give access to any student who requires it. And so there is, as we heard, just a lifespan for this equipment. And as we also discussed in finance today, technology is crucial to every student, and so every student requires that. Our teachers require it, and I was very, very pleased to get that sort of report back from our IT department about exactly where these fit, and they've pledged going forward to do an even better job of giving us information in advance, and I respect that, because that's such an important component of where we want to be as a district.
I would just add that, an era of rising costs, particularly labor costs and healthcare costs, technology is a way to make our teachers more effective and more efficient. And technology has come down in price a lot and is expected to come down in the future. And so if we do have a staff that's well-armed with technology, it will provide us with, I think, more flexibility in the years to come about how we rethink our educational experience.
And I would just add, and maybe Betsy, you can correct me, but I believe that they are developing a technology plan, right? Krista came to Student Achievement and talked to us. Yeah, you were there. And I think, maybe you weren't there.
No,
the
and
last
Betsy
one.
just said that, and I commented. I said, I know they are. I guess I'm struggling because every month we have, I want to see it already. And I know it takes a while, but it's just where I am.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that things wear out.
Yeah. Apple TVs,
They explained to us in committee that those are the devices that they actually, when we talked about the projectors a few weeks ago, those are the devices that the teachers use to make the best optimal connection, and that they actually piloted a number of them at Community Park, and they found that they had some new efficiencies that they didn't have before. We heard a lot about it today in committee, and it was quite, we actually kind of grilled them, I must say. They weren't expecting that.
I think
but-
the question I asked was, and the answer was, how much do they cost? And the answer was $149.
Yep.
And it was very inexpensive relative to what you're getting and the investment we have in the laser.
Yeah.
And it could be helpful going forward for them to come back to us and say, here's how teaching and learning has been enhanced with the Apple TVs, and just show us these examples, because they are big ticket items.
Yeah.
But they don't last forever, as we all know.
But they did say that 149, that they're giving us a discount on other computers. Like, we get a discount, but they're gonna do it towards the computers, so somehow it comes out cheaper.
Somehow.
So there was a cost savings
Yeah.
that they had negotiated. So when they gave their presentation, they knew which one of us wanted to hear moving laptops to the needy kids, which one wanted to hear there's gonna be a cost savings.
Gabe's figured us out.
He's starting to figure us out.
Didn't we all want all of those things?
We did, I think.
We do, but they know which one,
So-
Some of the recommendations to be coming from our IT department, right?
Yes.
And just to second what Greg mentioned, they did agree to, in the future, develop forms that would give us more standardized information ahead of time to review. And I believe Krista, who leads that group, is well along in developing sort of an inventory of all the equipment and kind of a 5-year and perhaps even longer plan, so that it feels less like at this meeting we're buying a lot of projectors, a couple of meetings later we're buying a lot of laptops, which the Finance Committee was very sensitive to. So that we confirm that is in progress and that they're taking those requests very seriously.
Great, thank you. So I guess since we're separating this out, can I have a motion for this item? Brian, second. Greg? All in favor? We have a show of hands. Motion carried. One opposed?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on with the continue to march through consent items. So we're coming to, oh no, this is the end. We're going to take a vote on the consent items. Tom, would you like to, well, can I have a motion? Bill, a second. Dan, would you like to call the roll on this one?
Let me catch up.
By hand. Old-fashioned pen.
Technology.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the?
So we're on the O consent vote.
Who made the motion?
It was,
Was it you?
it was the second.
Brian and Bill, or Bill and Brian?
Yeah.
Dan.
It was Dan.
Bill, second by Dan.
Bill,
Bill,
Dan.
Brian, Dan.
Bill to Dan.
It's like getting the Hemsworth.
Beth Barron,
Yes.
Debbie Bronfeld,
Yes.
Daniel Dart,
Yes.
Jessica Deutsch.
Yes.
Bill Hare,
Yes.
Betsy Bagley.
Yes.
Brian McDonald.
Yes.
Gregory Stankiewicz.
Yes.
Evelyn Spahn.
Yes.
I learned from that experience that when you have a consent item, you can't do board docs with an action item. And that's what
Through you.
screwed up.
Okay.
So
All right.
now I know for the future that I can't do that.
Technology is challenged. So motion carried, unanimous. We are now on P, public comment on open topics. Would anyone like to speak? There being no speakers, we are on to Q, closing discussion or comments of the board.
I have one small
Yes.
item for members of the board and members of the public. Andrew in the tech department has figured out how to post our agendas for committee meetings on the date on the website where they're listed. So it's very exciting. I finally figured out it was Andrew who, I think Tom got the credit initially, but I asked committee chairs to please ask that these agendas, just the first page, not everything else, but PDFs go on the date so that members of the public can click on the date and see that agenda. Also, it's really important to note when a meeting is closed. So if there's a part of the meeting that's closed or open, I think we just need to be really careful to note that for the public. But thank you for Andrew for figuring it out.
Thank you, Betsy. Okay, if there's anything else, can I have a motion to adjourn? Dan, second. Betsy. Need to adjourn.
Okay.
9:10.